listening to the IELTS podcast. Learn from tutors and ex-examiners who are masters of IELTS preparation. Your host, Ben Worthington.
IELTS Indicator. Hello there, IELTS students. In this tutorial, we are going to give you an overview of the new IELTS Indicator test. It's going to be Daphne and myself. We're going to cover what it is, when and where you can do it, who's it for, how long it takes to get your results back, what exactly does it test, how the test works, and we're going to look at some of the universities, the universities that might accept it, or who accepts it more appropriately, and basically our own opinion on this. So on this tutorial today, we have Daphne. How are you doing, Daphne?
Hi everyone, I'm fine, thank you, Ben. Hope all's okay with everyone out there too.
Excellent. All right then, let's jump into it. So Daphne, so as we all know, we've got this lovely COVID-19 virus having a wonderful impact on our lives. So the IELTS IDP British Council decided to launch the IELTS Indicator test. So could you just give us an overview of what this is?
Yeah, this is really exciting. I'd heard about this and Ben had mentioned it to me before, but I wasn't exactly sure what it was. So I started doing some research, and this is a really, really good idea. This is honestly one of the good, really positive things to come out of this awful virus and everybody being at home. So IELTS Indicator is an online test. It is run by IELTS. It is a total IELTS product. So I think that's really important to stress immediately. It's an IELTS product. Online test that you can take at home, and it includes all the 4 skills, and you're just doing it at home rather than going to an exam centre.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just going to emphasise, as Daphne said, it's an IELTS product, so it's official, and it doesn't have the same utility as the traditional one. However, it's a good sort of like bridging gap, a bridging solution until things get back to normal. And basically, I guess the idea is that we can keep moving forward with the whole process for universities and so on and so forth. We're not going to be totally paralyzed by this COVID virus. And yeah, I'll just briefly mention that. Well, actually, no. I'm going to mention that point later when it's more appropriate. So, I'm jumping ahead because I'm quite interested in this. So, when and where can the students take this test, Daphne?
Okay, so the idea is that it's a computer test. You can't do a paper-based test, so that's something to take on board. It is computer only, and you do it at home. So, obviously, you're in lockdown. You can't go out. Even if you're not in lockdown, you may not want to go out. And most of the test centres now, as we know, are closed. So this gives you the chance to do your IELTS exam while the centres are closed. So it, as Ben says, it's a stopgap, we might say. Mm-hmm. So it's an indicator of your results. It's accepted by most universities. So it doesn't have the same, it's not exactly the same in terms of where you can use it, so you can't use it for immigration. But if you want to study in the UK or study somewhere and start in September, this is your answer.
Absolutely, yeah. And so, as Daphne was saying, this is for those who want to study abroad, who want to go to the universities, UK, Canada, Australia. And just as a side note, I want to talk about, I'm going a little bit off topic here, but it's basically a cultural thing that in the East, as far as I know, rules are rules, and there's policies, and it's quite strict. However, in the West, and I'm talking from personal experience and from talking to other sort of like application experts and, those professionals who prepare you for applying for university, is that in the West, this only applies to non-legal rules, by the way. But in the West, policies and rules are kind of open to interpretation and to negotiation. Not all of them, but you can still apply Like if they say we're only accepting those with the band 6.5 or a 7 or 6.5, I would still apply if you're getting a 6. Still apply. And the reason is, and I've done this personally when I was applying for university in Manchester, is that there's two reasons. One, that the universities are not in the best conditions at the moment, i.e. they're probably going to have less students than they did the year before because of this whole COVID thing. It's going to throw the whole finances, the whole operations into a bit of a mess,
chaos.
Into a bit of chaos.
Chaos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that you could still apply and just go in there with a kind of flexible mindset and say, look, hey, I know that I've scored slightly lower than you expect, but I am willing to do X, Y, Z. I'm willing to do a foundation course. I'm willing to do extracurricular activities in English. I'm going to do, when I get there, I'm going to enroll in a language school to compensate. So you're basically making it easier for them to accept you. And I'm saying this because I know that in the East, that rules and policies are interpreted as to be set in stone, whereas in the West, there is some negotiation involved. I'm not saying it's all the time, but that we have this culture of, I mean, I'm not saying it's like for everything, but it's definitely worth a shot. I did this when I was applying to my university in Manchester. And I was basically negotiating all the way. I was saying, look, okay, I know that I didn't get this, but I got this grade for my general studies, A-levels, and so on and so forth. And so it's still worth a shot. Don't throw in the towel if you're slightly under, and especially now because they're in chaos and they need to fill those classrooms. So let's get back.
No, Ben, I think that's actually really, really well said. And I know from a lot of my students are applying for university at the moment, some of them are a little bit younger, and they're applying for university, and this test is absolutely brilliant. Every single lesson in this week, I'm going to be saying to everybody, book yourself in. It's an opportunity, this. It gives you a chance. Rather than sitting at home thinking, I can't do my IELTS, I can't study, I can't do this, like being negative. This is it. You've got the chance now to say to the university, hey, I've done my IELTS indicator. You said this was okay. Here's my piece of paper. I'm coming in September. Brilliant.
Absolutely, yeah. And just another point there, it keeps you moving forward. It stops you sitting on the couch and throwing in the towel and just think, this is all chaos, I'll just apply next year. With this, you just keep yourself moving forward. You've got a new goal to work towards, and if you hit that goal, then the rest of the other goals can fall down like dominoes, so to speak, and lo and behold, you wake up and you're in a university in England or in Canada or wherever, and you've moved forward. You haven't other people will still be on the couch watching Netflix, wondering when they can take their official IELTS test. So don't be that person on the couch. Okay, right then. So as you said, this is only available for a limited time, and only some countries are accepting it. I found this was quite weird because I thought if it was an online test, boom, everybody could take it. But apparently it's not like that, is it?
Well, I think everyone can take it. So I looked through the list of universities, and it is a very, very comprehensive list. So I was mostly looking at UK universities, but IELTS they've worked really hard at this. They've obviously contacted all these universities on your behalf, and they've said, okay, what do you want? What do you need from people? And generally the grades go between 5.5 in some cases to 6.5, occasionally a 7 depending on the uni. But there is a long, long list on that website. So on the IELTS indicator website, you can look up the academic establishment or education place you want to go to, see if they're on that list. It's a long, long list. What they also recommend is that you contact the admissions department and say, hey, I've heard of this IELTS indicator. Are you accepting it? And as Ben said, there is a lot of flexibility at the moment because these universities want to support you. They're not trying to shut the door, they're trying to open the door.
Exactly. And I don't think the door's ever been as open. Maybe perhaps in the economic recession of 2008, when everything was chaotic then, I would imagine they would have wanted these international students in their universities, paying the fees and just keeping business running, because at the end of the day, a lot of these are they're not subsidized. They've got to make their money, and international students are usually a very good source for that. So just one thing before we move on to how you get the results, we should really emphasize that it's not accepted for economic migration to Canada. That's really important. And there's no general test indicator. At the moment, it's only academic test. It's only for the academic test.
Yeah. That being said, yes, it's academic. That's right, because it's going for universities. But it could be that if you think this is the answer for you, just switch from general to academic. Do a bit of practice with us. Do a bit of practice on academic. And you may find that actually it's not as difficult or as frightening as you thought it was. And you could get the academic. Again, don't say no.
Absolutely. Good point there. Good point. Keep your mind open to, keep your mind open, keep your options open. And I think having this flexibility will help you move forward faster. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what we want to be doing. We don't want this obstacle becoming fossilized. We don't want it to stay there and take root. We want to keep moving, look for different alternatives. Should I be doing academic? Maybe I could go to this university. If we keep moving forward, then we're basically not going to let this COVID thing set us back, basically.
No.
I like that strong emphasis there for Daphne. No, this is not going to stop us. All right. So what does it exactly test, Daphne?
Okay. So it is the same as the IELTS test. That's the other most important thing to stress. When I was researching it, I thought, okay, it's an indicator. Does that mean it's easier? Is it less valid? But for a test to work, it has to be valid. It has to be a real test. And this is exactly the same as the normal IELTS test. Okay, so listening, 30 minutes, 40 questions. Reading, 60 minutes, 40 questions. Writing, 60 minutes, 2 tasks, as you know. Those all happen in one hit. At home, you cannot go and have a coffee break. Sorry, you have to stay at that computer for that time, which is the same as it would be in the exam. The speaking is with a real IELTS examiner over Zoom video call. So again, it is totally valid. You've got your test with this speaker, with an examiner, sorry. There's no compromise. This is real. Still same thing, 11 to 14 minutes. And that is either a few days before or a few days after your actual test.
Excellent points there. Okay, so 3 points I want to mention. With the reading and listening, you really want to get familiar with doing it on a computer, because it is a new challenge, and I know that a lot of students struggle with having to type and listen at the same time, and they don't have the luxury of a piece of paper in front of them. And it really is a question of sort of like learning a new exam skill. It's not that much related to a language skill. This is a new exam skill that you'll have to develop, basically, get familiar with it, on how to coordinate writing down, listening, because you don't have that luxury. I'm not so sure if you could write down with a pen and paper sort of like as you're doing it. I very much doubt, but we can talk about that in a second. The other thing I wanted to mention is it will be your responsibility to make sure you've got a solid internet connection. So you want to clear off the whole family. If your little brother's downloading some torrents, or if your older sister's watching, streaming some programs, or your dad's streaming some sports, you want to clear them all off, get them out of, actually you don't want to get them out of the house in the times of COVID, but you can at least ask them to stop using the internet, because you want that full bandwidth. You don't want to be get with a choppy connection while you're doing this test, because there's money on the line, there's your test on the line, there's your future there. So you really want to get it set up as best as possible and just basically increase the chances of your success. The other final thing I want to mention is with regards to the speaking on the phone. I know this from personal experience, and Daphne probably knows this as well from speaking French, but speaking a foreign language, in your case it'll be English, but speaking a foreign language on the phone is not the same as speaking to somebody like face to face. And even if it's a video call, you do not have the luxury of interpreting all the non-audio clues. And what that means is that if you're in an exam face-to-face with the examiner, you could probably see little changes in the facial expressions that might indicate carry on, that might indicate thank you, that might indicate a whole range of different things. It's going to be a challenge to interpret those when it's just a Zoom call, which is the software you need to do for the speaking. Mm-hmm. So it's your responsibility to get used to, one, speaking with somebody face to face on the phone, because they're not going to sound as rich, obviously, as face to face. And second, you're not going to have the luxury of the entire range of non-verbal clues. So this is another exam skill, and I would recommend making phone calls. I've said in previous tutorials, just go to the Yellow Pages, ring up some butchers, ring up some services, ring up some insurance sales agents in the UK, and just have a chat with them. But you could do that and just develop it, because they will not be adapting to your level of English. They will just be at native English speed.
I agree, you need to get confident on that. But I think what is really good is that because it's Zoom, if you're not used to Zoom software, if you're not used to video calls, get practicing now. As Ben said, just contact anybody. You can see people's faces. Sometimes there's a little bit of a delay in their speaking and then you actually hearing it, and that can be a little bit disconcerting. It can make you feel a bit uncomfortable, but so make sure you feel comfortable doing those calls, but at least you can see them. So at least if they're smiling, then that will make you feel more relaxed. You need a web camera, obviously.
Yes, yeah. And I think if you've got a really terrible one, or if your technology is pretty slow, pretty terrible, I would strongly recommend maybe borrowing somebody's decent computer, because you really don't want that to be a factor. Like, oh, is my laptop going to crash in this call? You want to be going there, as we said, with the best opportunity. You want to stack the deck in your favor, so to speak. Yeah. All right. So how does this test work?
Okay, well, we were just going backwards. I'm going to go back a tiny bit, Ben. The good bit is that you get your results in 7 days.
Wow.
So that is fantastic. So you get your result. The results are super quick. They're digitally given to you, obviously email or something, within 7 days. So that is really good. So in terms of making decisions about your future, because obviously the admissions process for these universities, especially if you want to go in September, the admissions process is well on the way now. So you can say to the examiner, okay, take the uni, I'm taking this test, I'll give you the results in a week. And that's amazing, I think.
Yeah, and I just want to emphasize what I was saying before, like the ball's in your court. The application process is open, and you could interpret this as sort of like, okay, if this was a normal academic year, maybe my chances were slim, but because of all the chaos, this is a good opportunity to actually give it a shot and to apply. Amongst all this chaos, some students will have just deferred it for a year, so the classes are going to be slightly empty. Take this opportunity. If you're thinking about it and you've been umming and ahhing about it, take this opportunity, jump in, get that application, get that test done, and move forward.
Yeah. Okay, so how does it work, you said? Right, so the most important thing is that you are safe and you are at home. And for me, that is so reassuring. You don't have to stress about when's my test center going to be open, and even when I get there, will I be okay? You're at home. Ben's right. Get the kids out of the way, get the family out of the way. But all you need is a desktop or computer or a laptop with a good internet connection. And as Ben said, you don't want to be worrying about a bad internet connection.
Yeah.
So the time you download a software called SEB, which is a Safe Exams Browser, and that will block you going on any other Google or anything else during that exam time.
Yeah, I thought
this is important.
Yeah, I was really interested in this. I mean, if you've got your if you're on your iPhone, I doubt you'd do the test on your iPhone, but if you're on your iPad or on your laptop, it freezes your computer. It stops them. It stops you switching. So the only thing you can do is what is in front of you.
Yeah.
So this is like,
it's pretty clever.
Yeah, and they're taking this serious, and this is I imagine this is sort of like one of the assurances IELTS IDP British Council gave to the universities that said, look, hey, we're freezing their computers while they're doing the test, and we're going to make sure that we are giving you non-cheating applicants, or pure.
Yeah. And the universities in the UK are using this already, because the final year students can't take their exams, obviously in a normal exam hall where they would take them. So all the students have had this software, they've done the exams at home, and everyone says, don't even waste your time trying to go onto Google, because you can't.
Exactly.
And then you're just wasting those precious minutes you've got when you should be writing your task too.
Absolutely. Good point. So final points. Oh no, we've got a few more points, sorry. About 3 more. So will my university accept this indicator test?
Really good question. Okay, so it's important to remember the indicator does not replace an in-person IELTS at a test centre, and it is not accepted by every organisation. So check before you book. That is the most important thing to say. But on this website, as I said, there's a very good guide as to who will accept it. And I think the bands are pretty generous. I think, as Ben said, I think they're being pretty friendly on this one. And the results go straight to the university. That's also quite good, actually. So British councils have connected to all these universities, and so the result will go to you and to them. So you don't need to worry about going, oh, how do I contact them? How will they know? Obviously, if you're going to retake, if you don't like your results and you want to retake, then you could contact them and say, hey, actually, I know I can do better. I'm going to retake. But it's pretty neat. And yes, so there's a very, very strong chance that your university will be on that list and they will accept this indicator result.
Yep, and as a side note, if your university is not on that list, or your college, send them an email and just ask, will you accept the IELTS indicator? I mean, there may have been some mix-up, they might not have gotten around to it, they may be in the process of just assessing it and implementing the new systems, and, just ask them anyway. It's worth a shot. These things are not, as I said earlier, there's a lot of chaos at the moment, and it's a good opportunity for you just to sort of interpret the rules sort of like with a little bit of flexibility due to this chaos that's going on. So send your institute an email anyway and just say, hey, would you accept these IELTS indicator results if you cannot see your university on the list? All right, so moving on to the cost.
Well, more good news here. So the cost of the indicator is $149 compared to around $258. I know prices vary in where you are for the normal IELTS. Okay, this is US dollars. So it is clearly cheaper. And also you don't have to travel. So I know some people have to travel a long way to take this test. They might have to have a hotel as well. So doing this at home, $149, getting the results in a week, there's lots of good things here.
I really think like this Corona thing has really just brought the future forward, doing the courses online, the university's doing the courses online, the tests going online. It wouldn't surprise me if this becomes the norm going forward. I mean, we've already got IELTS Computer. I think eventually we'll probably have IELTS Computer online, and they will have learnt a lot from this, and they'll probably iron out all the creases, and then more than likely, I hope as well, that they roll this out and make it and implement equivalency with the official gold standard IELTS test. Anyway, so that's enough of me hypothesizing. Let's move on to, do you think this is worth as much as the gold standard one we just mentioned?
Well, absolutely. In that, I mean, this is one of the big things that the name indicator to me suggests maybe it's not the same. But looking through the websites really carefully, it is absolutely the same in that it is a genuine IELTS product. I think it's called indicator because it's giving you an idea of your results. And obviously, if you got a band 6 in your writing, and if you thought, do you know what, I really can get a 7.5, you might take the time, get involved in an online course like ours, get your writing amazing, and then try again. So, but in terms of is it a real product? Absolutely. Is it worth as much as an ordinary IELTS now at the moment? Absolutely. It's recognized by universities. It's done to support you. The questions are the same. The examiners are the same, and the examiners marking it are the same. So it is valid. Yeah.
And just one last thing, I was thinking about it now. You take the IELTS indicator test, you get into the university, and you're working through each semester. Then nobody's going to come up and say, hey, you only did an IELTS indicator to get into this course. Go and now take the official IELTS. I mean,
of course not. Exactly.
Yeah. Maybe you could mention this in your negotiation process. Say, hey, look, after the first term, when things get back to normal, brackets, and my English has improved, I'll go back and do the official test. But this is a good chance now. The door is open. And as we were saying, the door's opened wider than normal. There's more flexibility in who they're accepting because of this whole pandemic, and you get the opportunity to take this cheaper test with the luxury from taking it at home as well. So this really is sort of like an opportunity to move forward, and
much less stressful, Ben, as well, don't you think, to be able to do it at home rather than to have to go to a centre?
Absolutely, yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about that. Yeah, and also, yeah, maybe we should do another tutorial about this. But yeah, you don't want to be sat on the couch with the laptop or on a beanbag doing this test. You want to be sat down in your desk, in as sort of professional environment as you can muster, but still you're going to have this familiarity of your doing it at home in a familiar location, so that's going to help you considerably as well, help you remove these nerves. And also, if you've been writing your exam, your task 2s and your task 1s on the computer, which this is what we encourage for our online course. We don't want to see the handwritten ones because it just takes forever, and a lot of people have chicken scratch and it just takes too long.
Chicken scratch, what's that?
Chicken scratch, this is horrendously bad handwriting.
I've never heard that expression before.
But I remember you once said that you got a terrible handwriting, which I was quite surprised at.
Mine used to be good, but never that good, but used to be legible maybe. But nowadays we don't write much, do we? So generally we type, and I'm with you, Ben. I think the computer-based tests are really good. Also, one other thing, actually, because you're doing it at home, you can read aloud. You know how some people quite like reading aloud? In an exam centre, you can't read aloud because there's other people near you. But if you're at home and you're doing the reading, or you need to read the questions aloud, maybe just to kind of focus yourself, you can do that at home. That's another bonus, I think.
Yeah, good point there. Good point. And I think that's about that was it. With our online course, we insist that you write all your essays on the computer and send them to us, and this will help you when you're doing something like the IELTS computer-based or the IELTS indicator, because you'll have got into that familiarity of typing your essays out rather than handwriting. So just bear that in mind. If you are considering an online course and you do think you're going to be doing the computer-based or the IELTS indicator, then an online course where you have the opportunity to send them in typed up is probably going to help you. It's going to get you more familiar with the whole process. And yeah, that just brings me to the final point, that if you are you probably are preparing for the exam. I just want to remind you that you can send us your essays. We'd love to give you that feedback and help you improve faster. We've also got the official apps where you can listen to the podcast and read along with the transcript. And there's also, when you sign up for the email list, we send you offers and we send you new material pretty much daily. So there's lots of benefits there from signing up and also getting feedback on your work.
I've got 2 more things, Ben, just to say quickly. If you want to find out more, there is a website, which is the British Council official website, IELTSindicator.com. You can book there. There's a little very short video just telling you a little bit more about it. So IELTSindicator.com. And the other thing is act quickly. We do not know how long this is going to be around for. So I strongly suggest get involved quickly.
That's a great tip. That's a great tip there. As we were saying, we don't know how long this door is going to be open, as wide as it is. We don't know how long the IELTS indicator test is going to be available. So yeah, move fast, move forward, get that feedback, get booking the test, and you're away. Okay, I think that's everything. So good luck with your exam, and goodbye from myself and Daphne.
Good luck, everyone. Keep going.
Thanks for listening to IELTSpodcast.com.